We are Fran and Rich, and for the last 7 years we've been pootling along the canals and rivers of England and Wales with our 2 dogs, Jess and Archie. Sadly, there is only Archie left now, but we've added to our adventures Percy the motorhome. So why not stick around and follow us on our further travels? We spent a few days travelling with Percy, and on a soggy, cold morning we took the opportunity to have an honest chat about living on a narrowboat for the last 7 years. We've been 7 years living aboard a canal boat now.
I know.
And it's absolutely amazing. Where did that time go? 7 years this month, February.
I can still remember so clearly moving out of the house and making ourselves homeless.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? Here we still are.
And did we think we would be living aboard a boat for 7 years?
I don't think, as with us, I don't think we really thought about it, did we? I don't think, the plan was always to give it 2 years and see what happened. And obviously,
Yeah.
At the end of that 2 years, we liked it, didn't we? And continued.
I thought we'd get it out of our system after a couple of years. But then we went and bought Lord of Maisie, didn't
Yeah.
we? So that sort of sealed it that
Yeah.
it's open-ended now, isn't it? We're just carrying on doing what we're doing.
I think at that point, when we got Laura Maisie, we really felt that we didn't want to go back to land at that point.
No.
And we had to make the choice. We either had to move back to land and not have a boat, or we had to get another boat. And it was an automatic decision to get another boat. We really didn't want to go back to land. And we really haven't changed that much since, have we, really?
No.
So we're still here.
So we've got a list of questions just in front of the camera there that we often get asked, so we're going to answer them now about 7 years
Okay.
aboard.
So people ask us what are the things, it's a common question, what do we most like and what do we most dislike about this life? And I think we've got differing opinions slightly on this, haven't we?
Well, I think the most liked reason is the freedom, isn't it? To do what we want to do and be where we want to be.
That is definitely a big thing that we've got control over it. And for me, I think it's the closeness to nature and the ever-changing views, which is related to what you've said, really. But there's no life that you can open your door and open the window and have a different natural view outside of your boat, outside of your door. And for me, that's the big thing, really big thing.
And the great thing also is if you've got noisy neighbours, just up your ropes and go, don't you?
Yeah,
just move on.
I know.
But it's very rarely we get upset by anybody, is it?
Yeah.
But it is great because you can be outside a supermarket one day and then out in the country the next, and it is for that reason. It is a really great lifestyle.
So
it?
what's the most disliked thing for you then?
Well, that's changed because it always used to be lack of power.
Yeah.
Before we've had all our batteries changed to lithium now, and we'll do a bit on the next video maybe about that. But we don't have to run the engine as anywhere near as much as we used to for charging, so we're using less diesel. And whereas before we used to have to move the boat every other day, didn't we, just to get the batteries charged. And if I was editing a video on the laptop and the laptop died, then I wouldn't be able to carry on editing the video until we started the engine again. And we never like running the engine idle as we're sitting aboard moored up, do we?
I can remember days on on Constanza, when the lights would start to go dim in the evening.
We went to go to bed when the lights were dim.
Yeah, but it's just different now. We can run the computer all day if you need to, now that you can charge it up. We're still very, very frugal with power. I don't think I know anybody that uses less power than us. But that's the way we like it.
Yeah,
definitely it's made a big difference, hasn't it?
What's the most disliked thing for you?
I think the about this lifestyle, I think it's when there's days when it's really rainy, really windy, and we've run out of water, and you've got to move. And there are times when you just have to move the boat, and you really don't want to. And if you've come to the end of your 2 week stay in a place and you really need to move, You've just got to do it. And a certain amount of that is planning and organisation. But you still get caught out. The weather still changes sometimes. And those days are rotten. Whatever way you look at it,
Yeah,
they're rotten days.
they are.
But having said that, even then, you do your moving, you get your water, do what you've got to do, light the fire, and it's the best feeling in the world,
Yeah.
isn't it?
When you're all hunkered down after filling up the water tank and
yeah.
you've got nowhere to go. It's brilliant. Yeah. So what do we miss the most about land life?
Oh, well, I think we agree with this one.
Both of us agree on the same thing, is having a garden.
Yeah.
And working in the garden and relaxing in the garden and looking at the garden.
Yeah.
Everything about gardening we love, don't we?
And as much as I will always say, oh, the garden is what's around us, and we do appreciate it. And, you know, I can do a little bit of foraging, and we look outside every time we moor up, we look to see what's growing around us. We haven't got the privacy of being able to sit out with your book without being disturbed or just letting the dog run around in the garden, and we can't get over that. We do still miss that. But maybe more about that later.
And what don't we miss about land life? Well, for me, it's neighbours. We've had some rotten ones in the past, and I certainly don't miss them.
And if there's any old neighbours looking, we've also had some lovely ones.
There's any old neighbours looking?
No, we have had some lovely ones, but our life has been spoiled by bad neighbours as well. So, and mine is a little bit of an odd one, really, and it makes me sound like a bit of a rebel. But the thing I don't miss is the control of land life. You can't park here. You can't do that. You can't, you know, even the way that you have to pay your local water provider to provide your water when they're just polluting the rivers with it. And
here we go.
I don't want to get into that, but there's so much with land life that you have to comply with and you have to go along with, even if you don't agree with it. And I think there's still some things about boat life like that, but not nearly as many. We're much more in control of our life. And so I think, for me, I'm going to say, to sum it up, rules and regulations, because I think I'm a bit of a rebel.
Having said that, we still do have rules and regulations to abide by on the canal system, don't we? We have to move every certain period of time. We can only moor at certain places often, but it doesn't compare to land life.
It doesn't. No,
you are so much more free.
Yeah.
Next one, Francis.
I'm going to put my glasses on.
Number
Sorry,
4.
folks, because I can't see a thing here. Right. Oh, this is quite a good one, actually. Have we changed? I know that I've changed. I never expected that this life was going to affect me nearly as much as it did. When we first moved on, I thought it was going to be a little bit of travelling around, a bit of a holiday, but it's definitely changed who I am. And I so much love the simple life. I'd never been particularly one into big possessions and jewellery and stuff like that. But I've got no interest in luxury and comfort anymore particularly. I just want simplicity. And the simpler my life is, the happier I am.
Is that why you married me?
Yeah, definitely.
Simple.
There's nothing simple about you. You're very complicated. But yeah, and I've become more like that. I actually want less and less and less out of life now. And I love that. I love that. How about you?
Yeah, you are very undemanding.
I am.
I feel I've changed in so much as I'm less gregarious. I'm more insular. I stay on the boat a bit more than you do, don't I? And I like that, which isn't a problem really, is it? It's who I am. But you can see it in other boaters as well, especially solo boaters who stay on the boat and never come out and you never see them. And I wonder if that is a bit of what's happening to me. God forbid if you weren't around, I wonder what would happen.
I think it can be quite a problem with people if it's taken to extreme. But at the same time, if that's how people want to live their life, maybe many people are always quite solo, quiet people, but life forces you to, like we were saying before, have neighbours and join in communities. And perhaps that's not for everybody.
I've always been comfortable in my own skin. Well, not in my own skin. I've always been comfortable with my own company. And I don't mind being alone and quite like being alone.
Well, you don't get that very often with me on the boat, do you?
But if, for instance, you go out and you'll walk the dog, for an hour or
Yeah.
two, and that gives me a moment just to be me again,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that, is
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
And
No,
you're
there's
doing the
not.
same by walking the dog, because that is
There's not.
something you treasure, isn't it?
I mean, again, it's something related to this lifestyle that you're not part of. You don't have to conform to everybody's ideals of how you live your life. We're living our life how we want to live it, and we're not affecting anybody else by that. And we're not really affected by other people, are we?
No.
We do what we want to do, so it's all related.
The next question, has boating changed? It's a difficult one because we've only been doing it for 7 years, so we can't, the last 30 years boating has changed, I think. But for us, I think there's a lot more new, sparkly, brand new boats like ours, for instance, which is 4 years old now nearly. There are a lot more new boats on the canal system, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think there may be, I'm on a bit of a limb here, but I think there may be a bit more of a divide between just boaters that are, I can't say true boaters because that sounds like I'm being really judgmental, and I don't mean that. I mean people that are just living their life boating, and that people that are really just having an extended holiday and they're out just to cruise and have fun and they're just fine. But I think there's definitely more of those social boaters out there than people that are just really living the life. And I think it's got busier as well. I think the canals have got busier since we've been
I haven't said that. I think it's quietened down a bit.
Oh,
the canals
well,
in the last couple of years since COVID, it went bananas, didn't it?
Yeah.
After COVID, everybody was on the canals getting about. But I do think it's quietened down, and I do think boats are struggling to sell now, compared to a few years ago.
They are.
I don't think it's changed that much.
But the system has changed a little bit as well, hasn't it? The system has become a little bit more run down.
Yeah.
And, so much dredging needs to be done now. There are so many problem canals.
You never see dredging now anywhere.
No.
The Gloucester and Sharpness Canal where we are on, you see them dredging that because it's a commercial line still. But I've never seen a dredger out on the normal system since we've been boating.
No, and it seems that every year there are more and more closures for repairs over winter, and it can be quite difficult to continually cruise at winter because you can't find a route. You go 5 miles and then there's a stoppage, and it's quite difficult to plan your route round. So I think it's like life is always changing, and COVID I think did make changes as well to boating as well as it did to land life, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
What's next? Here
Number
we go
6.
with the specs. I'm on duty. This is quite a good one as well. Do we worry about our future? How do we see our future going? And do we worry about it?
We haven't got a clue. Well, I haven't got a clue what the future holds, and I try not to think about what the future holds. We quite like the way we're living, so we'd like it to carry on for a while, wouldn't we?
Well, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. We would have stopped by now.
Yeah.
We don't have to be living on a boat if we don't want to now.
No.
But we don't want the alternative. We don't want to be on land, really. Can't say we don't worry about it.
We do worry.
Everybody worries. Everybody has those night demons, and you wake up and you think, what's going to happen to us? But all we know is this is what we want to be doing right now. And if the worst comes to the worst in some years to come, and we can't physically continue cruising, we might have to find a mooring. And if we can't do that, then we might have to go back to a flat or something. But we don't know what's going to happen in the meantime.
We'll deal with it when it happens.
Yeah.
Simple as, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've both lost so many people in the last few years. We just don't need to be worrying about the future.
But
because we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
We do have to draw ourselves back, and we do have to pep talk each other now and again. When one or other of us will say, how are we going to cope? How are we going to survive? We have to bring each other round. But now is what's important, isn't it? And, we're not being irresponsible about it. We're not off just spending money that we haven't got just because we want to do certain things. So we're being quite sensible. But this is a good life for us at the moment.
So the next question is, what is the future of the canals and continuous cruising? That's a big question. Future of the canals. The Canal and River Trust have lost a lot of the government funding over the next few years. Canal and River Trust have gone into opening a review started in January this year, ending in September, of licensing and continuous cruises and how they're going to license continuous cruises in the future. Will there be such a thing as continuous cruises in the future? We don't know. So it's all a bit up in the air, isn't it, the future?
Yeah, continuous cruises have already been hit by licence increases going up over the next 5 years. That's already started. So we're already being penalised a little bit. And there are different views of opinion. There is a problem with the licensing system, and there are people that abuse it badly and make boating miserable for others. We tried to get water a week ago and we couldn't because there were some boaters moored on the water point and they'd been there for ages and they just ignore the rules. And the Canal and River Trust has very little power behind them to do anything about these people that are not complying. So something needs to be done, and there are a lot of people that feel that the Canal and River Trust are trying to get rid of people that live and work in an area on their boats and don't cruise enough. So we're watching carefully. But,
I can't imagine them turning around at the end of this review saying, well, that's it, there's no more continuous cruising.
No.
The British Waterways Act of 1995 says we have a right to do what we're doing, continuously cruising the canals, so long as we can, fit in with the rules and regulations. But can you imagine if they turn around and say you've got to have a home mooring, you can't be continuously cruising?
I believe, I haven't checked this, but I believe at the moment you have to move an area of 20 miles over a year, which it actually isn't very much. If they really want you to say that you're exploring the system, 20 miles is not much. So whether that gets increased, I don't know. But,
so as with everything in life, the minority who are abusing the systems affect how everybody else lives, and that's what's going to happen. I think something's going to change.
Yeah, and I think the Canal and River Trust do need some power to deal with the people that are not complying. But it's not. I don't think it's all bad news, and there are scaremongers out there, but they can't just take us all off the water.
No.
And there's not enough moorings already. If you try to find a Canal and River Trust mooring, it's really difficult. There's hardly any available.
I know.
So, and they're quite expensive as well. So we're all watching carefully. Who knows? And what's the next question? What would we change, if anything?
I think we both agree on this one as well, wouldn't we? We wouldn't change anything about the lifestyle, but we'd have a little bit of a bigger boat, maybe, a longer boat.
We love Laura Maisie. She's like, we love it. But in retrespect, Rich still needs somewhere to do artwork. And it's still, you do. It is difficult. I've taken up so much space with all my weaving. We just think another 5 foot on the boat, 6 foot, that we could have an extra little compartment, which was a bit of an art studio. But we managed quite well.
It doesn't stop me doing art, does it? It's just, it would be nice to have a room where I could lock myself away for half a day and just create, and then come away from it while leaving it up.
Leave everything
shutting
there.
the door on
That's the thing, isn't it? That otherwise we can't eat and we can't move about. We have had days where there's artwork pegged up all around the windows on bits of string and over the kitchen, and there's paint getting splashed up the walls, but it's, I think that's it. And I think I'm right in thinking that you would probably go and have a diesel fire now.
Oh yeah, probably would go, because the dust that is created by a traditional wood burning multi-fuel fire, it's a nightmare at times, isn't it? And it doesn't help my asthma any, but having said that,
some of the diesel stoves look really good, don't they now? I mean, even the fire that we've got, the Chili Penguin with the top oven on it, you can get a similar diesel stove with a top oven on it as well. So I wouldn't just go with central heating and have the heating. I would have to have a fire centre point, but
Well, having said that, we
Yeah.
can't afford it, so that's not going to
No, we
happen.
can't. I mean, I think the fire that I would like is £3,000 for the fire alone, let alone fitting it.
Dream
So
on, Treacle.
that's not happening. We'll continue with the coal, I'm afraid. Keep the coal man coming.
So, next question. Are we living the dream? Is this the perfect life? Well, I suppose
Oh,
for the
it's
both of us, it
difficult.
is a dream life, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
we don't have to work. The only work we do is creating these videos, and Fran makes scarves. I sell a little bit of my artwork.
You say
You know?
that takes about 3 days a week. We
Yeah,
are
it
working
does.
at
Yeah.
least, really, but it's work that we choose to
Enjoy.
do.
Yeah.
And if we have a day where we really don't feel like doing it, we don't do it. So,
No,
yeah, I think we are living the dream, but is it the perfect life? No,
no such thing.
no, there is no such thing as a
No.
perfect life because, you get to what you think is perfect and then
Then
people
what?
often want something else. And for us, our absolute dream would be a little cabin in the woods, self-sufficient, solar power, water coming from a well, growing our own vegetables. But that's not going to happen, certainly not in this country. You
No,
can't do it. It's not possible. And we haven't got loads of money to do that. So within our means, this is the perfect life, I think, at the moment.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. And everybody else's life is a different perfect life. There's no perfect, is there? So
Absolutely not. Next one.
is it me again?
Yeah,
We
it's
can
the
ask
one
this
at the
back on
bottom.
again. Oh, is it cheaper? It's always been considered to be a cheap life. People that can't afford to be on land and then move on to a boat. And I guess for people that, again, we're going back to the working bit, want to be near London or need to get on the housing market, and people can't afford deposits for houses and can't buy houses, it's a cheap way to start, isn't it? And we have done some rough sums this morning. Obviously, we're in the camper van. We haven't got all our finances with us at the moment, but we live quite frugally, and we think it's definitely
I think it's definitely cheaper.
Cheaper.
I think it's equivalent to having a small flat or a tiny cottage, isn't it? You know, but I think it's still a little bit cheaper than living like that. Definitely cheaper than a 3 or 4 bedroom detached house. Absolutely, it is. So yeah, and we live frugally anyway, don't we? So we know
Yeah.
we don't go out to restaurants that much. We don't go to the pub
Yeah.
so much anymore, do we?
No,
Hardly
I
ever go
mean,
to the
it
pub.
doesn't, and especially if you wanted to live in a marina or on a mooring, you're then adding quite a few £1,000s a year onto your costs. But as far as daily living, as paying your maintenance, your heating, and living, I think it's definitely cheaper than the equivalent sized home on land, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah,
Without a
it is.
doubt. But yeah, it just depends what your lifestyle is and what you like. If you don't want to go gathering wood and kindling to light the fire, then maybe it's not so cheap.
But if you choose this lifestyle, you have to keep moving. But if you want to stay static, you have to have a mooring or a marina mooring, and then you probably end up having a car because the marinas are usually out in the way, out in the sticks,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, you choose the way you want to
yeah,
live if you
yeah,
live in this sort of life, and
yeah,
but the way we live it is a lot easier, a lot
yeah,
cheaper, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. So to sum it all up, you've got to say, all that considered, why are we still living like
Why
this?
do we live this life still? Well, I think for all the reasons we've given, we love
Yeah,
it. It is.
yeah,
At times, it can be a pain in the rear end, especially in weather like this. The towpaths are muddy. It can be really cold out there. But then that's the same as living in a house, isn't it?
yeah. And I
You
think
know.
that for me, the big thing is being in control of your life. We're in control of where and how we source our heating, of getting our own water, of where we live, whether we're in city or in the countryside. We've got control over that. You're not obliged to be doing very much at all, apart from moving every 2 weeks and complying to those rules. And yeah, I just love that. I just love that. And I actually I don't want to sound like what's her name?
Bouquet.
Mrs. Doyle, and
Mrs.
say
Doyle.
maybe I like the misery. But I think
Yeah.
maybe I do like some of the misery of it, because I think if you don't ever know what it's like to wake up on a cold boat, and then get the coffee on and get the fire lit and sit by the fire and feel yourself warming up. This is me. I don't think you've lived, because I think you need to struggle sometimes to really appreciate things. And if you can just wake up every day, switch your heating on, get the clean dishes out the dishwasher and get dinner out of the microwave, personally, to me, that's not living. And I know that there's millions of you, well, there won't be millions watching, I know that. Millions of people won't agree with me. But for me, I think that's living.
We can live like that if we want to. We have got central heating we can switch on at the flick of a button and then jump back into bed until the boat gets warm. We could have a microwave if we wanted one, we choose not to. There's a microwave on Percy just up there, we choose not to use that.
It's got the bread and the cakes
Yeah,
in it.
it's a bread bin. But we like the simple life. We like this easy, carefree existence, don't we? We don't like complications.
Yeah.
And in fact, having Percy has really complicated our life somewhat, hasn't it?
And we did worry about that happening, and it has done that.
If there's one reason why we'll get rid of Percy in the next year or so, is because it complicates our life.
Yeah.
We like simple.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, we're still enjoying Percy.
We are still enjoying Percy. Yeah. We're not saying we're getting rid of him.
Today's brilliant because we're relaxing on Percy. The weather's awful. We're going to sit and read our books in a minute. And so we have the best of both worlds, don't we?
Yeah, we have.
It's not bad life, is it?
Yeah. But it's not for everybody, and everybody has to make their own decisions. But that's us, and that's why we're still here after 7 years.
Yes, 7 blooming years.
And where will we be in 7 years' time?
Who knows? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. 7 years aboard. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next adventure.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Ta-ra.
Bye.